So, hi everyone. Uh, so today we are going to see how Salesforce provided functionality Headless 360 help us to talk to Salesforce directly from our LLM, which are Gemini, ChatGPT, or Claude, directly without logging into the Salesforce itself. So there are some steps that we need to keep uh, to get our functionality keep up running. So basically, what are MCP servers? So this is a service provided by Salesforce, which exposes the Salesforce functionality, data, logics as tools to the LLM or the AI agents. So they can execute it from their end, and we can do some business processes in the org itself. And there are some steps that we need to enable to use the MCP servers from LLM. So the first one is basically to enable the MCP server beta checkbox in the user interface. The second one is we can create our own MCP server, or we can use standard MCP server that Salesforce provide. Step three would be we will be creating an external client application. So we need this so that our Gemini can authenticate in the system of Salesforce and process the request via it. So it's a part of integration when two system needs to share information or communicate. Then we have to set up some channels so they can authenticate and authorize the request. And step four will be how to set up the MCP server URL in our connected apps in the LLM, which is in our case Gemini. So we can get started. So if we go to our setup and quick find, we can find a term user interface here. In the user interface, this enable MCP service beta need to be checked. So we can use our MCP server. Now, if you find in the quick find MCP server, you can find MCP servers under API catalog. So these are some standard MCP servers that Salesforce provide. We will be using S-object all, or you can use S-object read, any of them. Just open them and make sure these are activated. This is the server URL that we will be using when we are setting this MCP server in the Gemini. So if we go on tools, so these are the set of actions, or you can say flow processes. Apex, it can be an AI agent, an Apex that can execute the task. So if we see we have a create record task, we can use update records, delete records, and we can query SOQLs directly. So we'll be using this MCP server via LLM, and we need to set up a client app manager, external client app, to authorize our Gemini request. So to set up it, we have to type some basic informations. Like I can give it to you like Gemini MCP requester. Contact email will be mine, and the distribution keep it as local. For API, enable the auth settings. So for this callback URL, we will be having this URL when we are setting up the LLM, the connected app in LLM. For the scopes, just add two scopes in it. First is perform request at any time, and another one is related to MCP server itself. Yeah, this one. So these two scopes needed to be included. And for the security, uncheck these two flows. We won't be using these flows to authenticate the request. So this is the pretty much that we need to keep in our external client tab, and we click on save. First, we need to find the callback URL. So let's copy this MCP server URL. Now we have our Gemini and we go to connected apps. Then here we can find to add a custom app link to get started. So we will paste our MCP server URL that we just copied and click on save. So in an advanced setting, you can find the client ID and client secrets that we need to populate, which will be which we will get from Salesforce itself. So in the external client app setting, let's fill in some detail here. So we can, after filling these detail, we will be able to see the client secret and client key. So our external client app Gemini MCP requester gets created. And if we go to setting under the OAuth, you can see this customer key and secret. If you open it, it will ask you for a verification code. So just put in the verification code and verify. So here you can find your consumer key and customer secret. So copy this and populate them over there, and copy this redirect URI. So we need to update this URI here, the callback URI, and we click on save. So external client apps takes around 10 to 15 minutes to get the changes up and running, and you can review the controls. So requires you to lock security control for partner application. So we can lock it up. So this is pretty much for the external client app. So this part comes under the integration. We can go through the integration for more knowledge, like how our web server works. So also, we won't be using these. We can edit it. So these are some flows that uses some credentials to authenticate our request. So we won't be requiring this, and we can click on save. So let's wait for 10 minutes till this external client apps up and running. Then we can add our MCP server in the connected app. So even if you click on next and set it up, you will go through an error. Most probably there will be an error. So these error comes when your external client app is not up and running. So we have to wait a little. So now we can authenticate it. So let's paste our MCP server URL, and in the advanced, just paste your consumer key and consumer secret, and paste this redirect URI in external client app callback URI field. And if you click on next, and I understand the security and privacy risk, then it will show you a pop-up you to log into the org. So when you log into the org, you will find this screen to allow the access. So the MCP requester is accessing your MCP servers and perform request at any time. These are the resources you will be letting the external client app to access for Gemini. and you click on allow. So the error we received while setting up our MCP server in Gemini is due to this checkbox that we haven't ticked. So this will allow the application to issue a JWT token so that every request can go through with a JWT token to authorize in Salesforce. So in the external client app, you should tick this to get our MCP server correctly set up in the Gemini. So now again we can set the things up. If I go to my MCP server, so this is my MCP server. So let's copy this. Like here, if you click on the URL, it says that the JW token is required. So the JW thing was handled by the browser itself. So now copy this server URL and paste it in your custom app. So if I click on next, we need to populate this client ID and client secret, which you can find from here through this consumer key and secret. Now copy those, and this copy redirect URI should be there in client external app in the callback URL. So if I click on next and I understand the disclaimer, then it will require you to log in to Salesforce if you are not already logged in. So I've already logged in Salesforce. So these are the tools that are available with our MCP server that we can use, and we can click on connect. So if you scroll down, then here we got our MCP server connected in our custom apps in Gemini Spark. So let's test it out then. So how to access the custom app in Gemini? So it starts with at the rate. So this is our custom app or MCP server. So we select it and we give it a generic prompt like list the accounts available. So this should perform the task for us. So this will look up the accounts in the Salesforce currently and list it out. So this is the action that is, this is the tool that it uses from our MCP server. And it gave you a list of accounts retrieved from Salesforce. So these are the accounts that we have with their account IDs. Also, we have other tools with our MCP server, like we can create, update, delete a record, and we can also execute SQL query. So this one it used just now, this tool. Now we can try like creating an account and create an account for us. So it just first get our object schema, how the fields are built, like the required or the optional fields, and we have to provide the API name of the account just to specify which record we want to create in SF. So to create a new Salesforce account, please provide the required account name. So it listed you some optional fields and the required fields that need to be there while creating the account. For account name, please use account from MCP. So this I used, so the Gemini is using create as object record from as object all MCP. So we will allow it to create the account. So the account has been created in Salesforce and it returned the ID of the account. So if we open that ID in Salesforce, we can find our account created from Gemini. So yeah, this is the account that was created just now. So that's how we can connect our Gemini to Salesforce using headless functionality and MCP servers. So thank you for watching this.